Welcome to the Poor Rikes. We're poor and we talk about being poor, Rikes,
And stuff.
and stuff. Poor.
Poor! We're motherfucking poor! Yeah, I mean, I agreed with you on the so just not being as good as motherfucking.
I still think motherfucking is hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, I like the so part though. I do, and it cleans it up. It doesn't have to be so. What's the word?
Vulgar.
Yes, that's the word. I'm curious because you had the discussion for today. What made you want to talk about Joel specifically?
Oh, I just feel like our story podcast, like the one where we talked about foster care and face blindness, was like one of our better ones. So I was trying to think, what's another story?
Oh,
And that was a
I
big
thought it
one
was just
for a
something
long
that came
time.
up on your mind lately or something.
I mean, that one was pretty informative. It was pretty formative for me, like at the time.
What does formative mean?
It means it like changed me. It like
Oh,
made me think about things differently.
yeah, I don't remember the full story. I just remember being disgusted by this
Yeah,
person and the way he acted towards you.
yeah.
Of
Well,
this about our mom's death.
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay.
Oh God. Oh,
You kept asking me if I wanted to
you.
talk about it because it might be too upsetting for me. Is it gonna be too
No,
upsetting for
it's
you?
I just it just makes me angry. That's
Yeah.
all. Like but I mean, being constantly angry doesn't really change that
I
much.
might be able to provide some
I have some anger
perspective.
directed
Yeah.
specifically towards this person rather than being general anger at the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, uh, we had a mom, and she died like an asshole, like
Now,
assholes do.
did because like the weird thing is like you're going over it kind of like you're explaining a story, but do
Yeah.
you want to just skip that and
No,
talk?
let's just.
Okay.
We need context
Yeah.
for this particular story,
This
so
very
just
yeah.
we're not going to go into the whole thing all
Okay.
over again. We'll
That's what I
just
was curious about. Okay.
So she died. I took it pretty hard. I mean, we both we both,
Now we've talked about that
we
before
both
because
took it
I
pretty
had more
hard.
closure than
Yeah.
you did. I had actual closure and you did not have closure.
I don't know if there is such a thing as closure for me in this case.
Not when, yeah, no, I had the opportunity. I took the opportunity. I had the chance, and I recognized it.
I just absolutely refused to believe that she
Yeah.
was going to die.
So you just didn't get it, and you won't get it
Yeah.
probably unless you happen to have a dream that's a really good one. Right? Like
I mean, I dreamt
some
about her last
some
night. That didn't
exceptional
help.
vision.
Yeah. She's in a lot of my
Yeah,
dreams.
I've dreamt about her a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so she died. I spent the next 3 years crying. I think it was 2 years after, yeah, 2 years after she died. I ran into this guy the day after Thanksgiving. I had worked Thanksgiving. I was coming home from the laundromat, and this guy lives like a block from us. So,
I forget you knew him before, right? Like you had just
yeah.
run across him
So I
at
met
work
him
or
at,
whatever.
I worked at Goodwill. He was doing community service.
Oh, I thought it was Smart and Final you met him at.
No, he used to come in when I was at Smart and
Oh,
Final and
okay.
harass me, but like, so his name's Joel. I met him at Goodwill. He came in to do community service. He got fired by Sophie, who refused to fire anyone the entire time that I was there. Like
Wow.
she used to have her assistant managers fire people
Because she wouldn't do it.
because she couldn't fire
Yeah.
people, and she fired him directly because he was changing price tags for people so that they
Oh,
could
that's funny.
get items that just came out for half price.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually like that though. That's just hooking people up, man. Shit,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, Sophie wasn't as
Nah.
much of a
No,
fan.
no, it's definitely not something you would normally do as a boss or whatever.
Yeah.
Even like as a regular worker, it's not normal, but
I mean, I
but
never did
especially
that.
well, what's
Yeah.
funny is especially now hating our government and the system and everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, give it to them for free, motherfucker.
I definitely have more of a like I wasn't that upset at the time. I just thought it was kind of funny and stupid.
Yeah.
But also it was not out of character for him because he was kind of like he always needed attention and he was a liar. Like he was just a pathological liar.
Well, that's what's interesting to me because of just the thought of just changing prices 50% off or whatever is funny to me and cool. But
Yeah.
I will not hate this guy. Like I fucking hate this guy. but it's not because of that though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, just knowing that part is kind of funny. To
I
me,
did
like.
hate him for a long time. I don't hate him anymore.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
still
sure.
hate him. Yeah.
I'm not sure why I don't hate him anymore. Like, because my reaction to him
Probably
was so
forgiveness.
visceral for so long.
Imagine you forgiven
More
him.
exhaustion, I think. I just don't have the energy to be that angry anymore.
Okay.
So I kind of knew him. We would run into each other from time to time because we live a block from each other. And I'd stop and talk to him. I just found it amusing to talk to him because I just wanted to see how many lies I could catch him in like a 3-minute conversation.
See, this is your fault.
Yes, it's my fault.
Well, I mean, you're like, let me catch him in some lies.
No, it was just like, if you run into somebody and you know that they're a liar, you're not just going to be like, all right, see you later, like immediately. Like, you stop and talk to them.
Well, I see you say that, and I'm just like, I would just keep going.
Well, I wasn't
Fucking
keeping
weirdo.
going. I wasn't keeping going. So, anyway, I liked him. I knew that he had flaws, but I liked him, and so I never told him that mom died because I met him before mom died. But I never said like my mom died when I would run into him. But then like 2 years after she died, I ran into him the day after Thanksgiving. I was just like done. I was like, there was no smile. There was nothing there was no like way that I could be polite. So I just wanted to let him know the reason that I may not seem like myself is because my mom died 2 years ago and I'm still really fucked up about it. And with Thanksgiving being yesterday and I had to work and I had to have so many people just ask me like, "What? You're gonna hang out with your family after this?" And
that's all every Thanksgiving, right? Christmas and what are you doing with your family? What's like nothing?
And it's just like, so I would lie like the whole day. I just
Really?
lied. I was like, yeah, totally, because I didn't want to talk about it. You know?
I did not know that part.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
So it was just like the day after, I was just drained. I was coming home from the laundromat. I was just like done. I had no energy. I had no smiles. I had nothing. No optimism. Nothing. And I ran into him, and then I was like, yeah. So like and I only told him that mom died because I didn't want him to feel bad that I wasn't acting as friendly as I usually did.
I don't remember. I don't think you ever told me that you had not. I can't remember. You know, it's been a little while since we talked about him, but I don't remember you telling me that you had not told him previously until that encounter. That
I never
so
told
that
him
is
this,
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ran into him a couple of times, but I never mentioned it because like I couldn't actually.
It's not something you just randomly bring up, you know, like,
yeah.
hey, by the way, my mom died.
Well, and also I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't talk about it without crying, and I don't want to talk, you know. And if he didn't already know, he didn't fucking need to know.
Yeah.
And the only reason I mentioned it was so I didn't I didn't want his feelings to be hurt
Yes.
because I couldn't be my usual self.
I get you, yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, my mom died 2 years ago. I'm fucked up about it. I just feel like there's no point in anything. Why love anyone when they're all just gonna die? Like, you know, like griefy, angsty shit. You know.
Griefy angsty. I love the way you describe shit, man. It always makes me laugh. I'm just like, because it's stuff I would not think of. You know, I'm just like, everything fucking sucks. My sister here, poetic and shit. You know, you got all these lovely ways to put everything, and that's one of my favorite things. I think it's hilarious. It's kind of like your poems and your stories. You know, it's all hardcore dark shit, but in such a beautiful way, beautiful, happy, joyous way. I'm just like, how does she do this?
I just like bright colors and dark thoughts.
It's amazing, dude. Anyway, sorry.
My friend Deidre nicknamed me Dark Sunshine, which I just thought was like, yeah.
That's fucking epic.
The painting that's in the living room, the blue one with the gold sparkles, that's like in the bookcase. She painted that for me, and she called it Dark Sunshine.
Dark
and that
Sunshine.
Was my nickname.
I don't think maybe you might have told me that once before or something, because I don't really fully recognize it. That is so good.
Yeah,
that's great. Your nickname is Dark Sunshine. God. I gotta remember that. It's like if I ever need a name for a video game character, you know, I'm gonna call it Dark Sunshine. That is epic. That's so cool.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah. So I just wasn't doing well, and I didn't foresee a future in which I would ever be doing well. Again, this was a year before Flappers. It was 2 years after Mom died. I was, I think, either graduating or whatever from GCC, and you know, I just wasn't. I was just miserable. So, I
remember I had never ever. It's kind of like when our mom was dying. I'd never seen her that way.
Yeah.
I had never seen you that way.
Yeah.
I knew we had a lot of stuff we were related to, and we had even had times where we would talk about depression and suicide. Which I remember the first time we ever talked about suicide, you shot the shit out of me. I had no idea that you not only had felt that way, but ever tried it, you know?
Oh yeah, that's a good story too.
I never, for so long, I never knew that about you, but when everything changed after mom died, like,
Yeah.
and I didn't know how, like, I didn't know what to do. You know, there's things where there's nothing you can do, you know?
Yeah.
Nothing you can say, like, it was a trip, and I really was, I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy, what the fuck happened to my sister, kind of a thing, you know? But you've explained that, and we've had those chats, and it's such a, it's crazy.
I had an identity crisis. I had an
Yeah.
identity crisis when she died, and I had another one after I left Flappers. Like, to me, that was like a death. It was a
Pretty
death
horrible.
of part of myself, even though, like, it's still there. All the people are still there, but I'm not still there. So who am I without that thing that basically I defined myself by for years, you know? So, yeah. So if I'm not mom's daughter, who the fuck am I? You know?
You're my sister. You are Crystal Cherie. You're the most amazing person I've ever known in my life. And I know a lot of amazing people. So, and
I do too, and
you
I
know
don't
what's-
stack up.
You know what's
so.
funny about that? I always think about this because I mean, that is how I feel, you know, like you're incredible even and I have been pissed at you so many times for so many reasons. You know, we've hated each other like we did with our mommy, and we had these times where we'd be pissed off at each other and
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, that was the most interesting thing about after mom died, how our dynamic changed. Was it just was like, I think there was like maybe a couple times where we kind of got heated with each other, but I think both, I mean, at least on my part, I just was like, I don't know how much more time I have with this person, and even if it's 20 years, I don't want to waste any of it
I think you'd even told me that.
on being like angry or frustrated or whatever. So I'm just gonna appreciate him for who he is, and not do what to him what I did to mom. You know, which is like, you know, ignore the good stuff and just keep wishing that the things that I didn't like about her were different, you know.
It's so messed up. Yeah, my gosh, there's so much. Whew. But because even that, the way you say that, there's so much more there to talk about. But
Yeah.
in relation to what we're already talking about,
Yeah.
so we don't have to get too deep into that right now. Another time, you know.
I didn't know it was gonna get this emotional, like thinking
well,
about
because we're
it.
not talking specifically about what we first started talking about. So it did go
So I'm not
in
emotional
a
about
different
Joel,
direction.
but
Yeah.
you know.
Sorry.
No, it's
No, it's
alright.
good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so so I was just kind of like I was just like a shattered soul wandering around just in like pieces, you know.
See, it's funny because like I knew the specific topic because this is why I was like, are you sure you want to talk about this before you leave?
Yeah. Well, I don't feel that way anymore.
But towards Joel, but in relation, I
Well,
forgot
no,
I didn't mention that one because I was thinking the reason that you had this interaction with Joel is because of mom dying. So obviously that's going to be a part of the conversation, you know. And I didn't want you to leave like all sad and emotional and shit. You know?
But I also don't define myself by mom anymore. Like, it's taken me a decade, but I don't, like, I have a much stronger sense of who I am aside from who I am to other people. It's not great, but I do have some sense.
I know.
So, so yeah, so anyway, so I'm talking to him, I'm saying a lot of dark shit that he's never heard before, and the only reason I went into as much detail as I did is because he kept arguing with me. He's like, well, you shouldn't feel that way.
Oh,
You know, and he's like, I'm just like, well, I miss my dead mom. He's like, yeah, you know, if my parents died, it was a great way to start.
right?
Oh.
How the fuck do you even come up with that? Like,
But he goes, if my parents died, I would be like 3 months, and then, you know, life goes on. You know, I'd be sad for 3 months, and then life goes on. And I was just like, yeah, that's what you think when it hasn't happened. You know, because when you imagine the people around you, like, how would I feel if I lost them, you know?
you would not really know.
Well, you know, you could feel it for like a minute, but then you get to stop feeling it because it stops being true as soon as
have
you
like the tiniest idea.
You come back to reality. Like, I remember, like, I knew exactly how devastated I would be when mom died, except that when I was done imagining it or like feeling that way, I got to come back to reality where she wasn't dead, you know. And after she died, when I felt that shitty, I couldn't stop. I couldn't come back to reality and feel better because reality was where she was dead, you know. So it just sucked all the time. it sucked as bad as I thought it would, but like just not for a minute or two at a time, you know. So it was a long time. So so when he said 3 months, I was like, I get that that's what you think, you fucking moron, which I didn't say. I didn't say it that way because I was still being polite to him at that point. I was like, I get where you're coming from, but you just don't know because your parents are alive. Your if is not happening to you, you know, and so he was like, we ended the conversation with him saying, "You're broken, and I'm gonna fix you." Which
if only it were that easy, wouldn't it
right?
be awesome?
I mean, like
I wish that was like, oh, you're gonna fix me, cool. You
I
know?
probably should have been. I was just like, okay, I probably should have been offended, but I was like,
I wouldn't be offended.
I
I'd be
wasn't.
like, how are you gonna fix me? Like, what the fuck are you gonna do?
Yeah, and like I see you once every 3 months, like on the street for 5 seconds, like.
Unless you got $1 billion to just give me for no reason.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that you could do that would even help me.
Money wouldn't have helped me at that point.
No, emotionally, no. But I like, what else is somebody gonna do? You can't just, you can't just say nice things. This is why I hate fucking inspirational messages. I only recently came up with this in my head, like a week or 2 weeks or a month ago. This is very new to me. I thought it was hilarious because, like, when I was a kid, I came up with the "it can only get worse" thing in my own head. That was somebody else might have said it in some other time, but I never heard it. Like, this was, to me, this was brand new. It was just how dark and depressed I was and whatever, and I was just like, it can only get worse. There is no getting better kind of a thing. And then I made my website, it can only get worse. But now I'm like, inspirational messages are only for people that are already happy. That's my new thing. That shit's so funny to me because every time I see an inspirational message, I'm like, who the fuck believes this stupid shit? You know? And that's what I thought. That's my new thing now. It's like my new motto. Like, inspirational messages are for people that are already happy. Like,
yeah,
they drive me freaking crazy every time I see them. Oh my god. Anyways, sorry. You reminded me of that. It just made me think of that. I thought that was funny.
Well, when you said he was gonna fix me, I just kind of walked away going, whatever. It's not like he can make me feel worse.
Oh my gosh, that's such a bad thing to think. Oh, woo!
It's like being in a movie and having somebody say, "I can't." Like, what else could go wrong or whatever? Like, it's just like
just send the black guy by himself.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Oh my gosh, dude! I can't believe you even thought that. I'm so sorry.
Well, like, legit, what did I think? Like, what was I supposed to think? Like, I didn't think he was gonna start showing up to where I worked.
That's
and
like, it can only get worse.
Lecturing me about how I was torturing my mother in heaven.
And go ahead with that. That's nuts. This is why I hate his guts so much. Oh my gosh.
He started showing up, and he started like finding me in the break room when I was on my break, and he would talk to me, and then like I'd be like stocking shelves or whatever, and he'd like come talk to me.
It's fucking crazy.
And I kind of just like ran out of patience with him, and I had thought to myself the last time that I talked, I was like, I just don't want to talk to him anymore. I just don't want to talk to him. He just doesn't get it, and he doesn't want to get it. I'm not going to stop being sad because you want me to. But he found me in the break room one day, and he comes in, and he's like, I've got it. This is going to fix you. And he goes, you're torturing your mother in heaven.
Oh my gosh.
Your mother can't enjoy heaven because of you. And
see,
this was the first time he'd phrased it like this. Like, he'd done all the, like, but your mom can't enjoy blah, 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 blah. Like, he'd said it in nicer ways, the way that other people say it. Which is like, oh, but if your mom was looking down at you from heaven, you wouldn't want her to see you so unhappy, you know. You gotta live your best life for her, blah, 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 blah.
Stupid crap, man. Like, oh my gosh.
Bullshit. Like, nice, well-meaning bullshit that people tell you when you're completely devastated that helps you not at all. And that, like, it's kind of frustrating, but you kind of get, and you just get that they don't get it because they don't get it.
I mean, it's... in most cases, I would, at least half the time, if not a little more, it's well intended.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
But this was part of the reason why I just didn't talk about one. Part of it was just painful, but also because the few times that I did talk about it with people, they would say stupid shit. It would make me feel worse.
Yeah.
Like, you're not allowed to feel the way that you feel. You're not allowed to miss her for this long. Like, you should be over it. Like, you have to get over it. Like, fuck you.
I'll never, every time that we talk about this, and you talk about that part of just getting over it, I'll never forget. I recognize this. It was after our mom died.
Yeah.
And I remember at least twice, if not more, probably, but I know at least twice there were two key moments where I told our mom to get over our brother's death.
Yeah.
Like I was like, just get over it.
Yeah.
I didn't fucking know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was so frustrated because I loved her so much and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted her to be happy.
And the key to that was for her just to get over it.
Not realizing what a stupid freaking thing that is to say or think, you know?
You don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And so I understood that because I know that I had thought that about her too. I'd never said it to her. But after she died, I understood why she was never the same person,
Yeah.
why she couldn't just get back into life,
Mhm.
why it just plagued her. You know, I
Mhm.
understood. I got it. I understood it. I got it.
Isn't that crazy?
And so, you know, and then I thought back to like how much stupid shit have I said to people who've lost? Oh, they're always with you. Oh,
I know. That part I agree with.
I know you do. I don't.
I don't remember if I'm pretty sure I told you this. It was like a year or two. I mean, every time I did the dishes, every time I did any chores, every time I pay the rent, I pay the bills. I think mom's with me because she's the one I learned all that from.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that taught me almost everything I know.
I get that. I just mean in terms of like feeling her presence or whatever. Like,
Well, that's how I was though.
Yeah, I know.
She's always with me. So no,
The closest I get
yeah.
is if I dream about her.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that.
But it's not like pleasant dreams, you know. It's usually
See, I've had like an on and off thing. Like I've had a few. Well, I think more of the dreams where if she was in it, it was weird and awkward, and I would know she was dead in the dream,
Mhm.
but I was glad to see her. And then there was a couple times where I was at peace and I was happy to spend time with her. Like
Yeah.
it was weird because like there were even in the dreams where I recognized and remembered that she was dead. I think it's because the dream itself, I wasn't actually spending time with her. Like, you know, she's just there,
Yeah.
kind of in the background, kind of a thing. And then there was a couple where I got to actually engage with her, which is just thinking about it, it's just like, oh my gosh, I want those dreams more. But
You don't just get
what's
that
weird
happen,
is
yeah.
what's weird is like many times when I would realize that I'm dreaming, I could actually control my dream at that
Mhm.
point. But
Lucid
with mom,
dreaming.
it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same as having a conversation with the person that I knew in my life and had in my life, and being able to use superhuman powers in my dream. You know, and
Yeah.
like they're two different things. Like I couldn't like because controlling my own actions in my dream is one thing, and it's impossible for me to even just to think of it off the top of my head of controlling my conversation with my dead mother. You know what I mean? Because when I did have the couple dreams where it felt like we were really engaged and conversing, even though we weren't, it wasn't like a vision of another life or anything. It was like just something that we were just together, you know. But
Yeah.
it was almost like she was actually there.
I
And we were
definitely
chatting
yeah.
with each other.
I definitely get the closest to her actual essence of like
Yeah.
that's mom. Like
Mm.
it doesn't matter what she looks like. It just like that's what it feels like being around her.
Mm.
And sometimes there's sad dreams where she's sick, but I'm so grateful that I get a chance to take care of her. Or sometimes she's back from the dead. Sometimes she's mad at me. Sometimes, you know, it's just always different. A lot of times we're living not here. We're living either at
Commerce, yeah.
or
That's where most of mine happen too.
or
I don't know why.
or Foothill next to the motorcycle shop.
Most of mine are commerce usually.
Yeah, or we're moving from one to the other.
That's really weird.
It's very odd.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we're just in this giant mansion with all these rooms and we're like moving in and we're like trying to organize
I've
our
actually
stuff.
had a dream like that too.
Yeah.
How weird.
I have that. I think it's something to do with like transition and like just being in a period of transition and your mind is processing that.
It's weird. I never thought because I've always wondered every time I would have a dream about a mansion, I'd be like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, how am I even imagining like a mansion in my brain and
Yeah.
dreaming about actually living in one? Because I've seen them from the outside,
Yeah.
but I've never been inside. You know?
We've seen them on TV.
Yeah. Oh, that is true. Yeah. I've even had dreams of the cat.
Oh, really?
I miss her so friggin' much, and I
She's
never
very
had
cute.
closure with her.
Mm.
Never had closure with
They
her.
they do that on purpose. They don't want you to watch them die.
I'll never forget her face though. She looked so disappointed with me, like
When you went
like I
let her
wasn't
in.
properly taking care of her.
Well, you
at the
weren't
end,
because she
you
wasn't
know?
your cat.
Yeah, yeah. I'll never forget that though. That last time she basically said goodbye to me, and I didn't know it was goodbye. anyways,
Mistreating our cat is a different story.
that's funny. What the cat who adopted us. She
Yeah.
was amazing. But you know what? You would the thing about Joel that you had said when he came to you and he said, "Oh, now I know how to fix you."
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you'd ever told me that part before.
Oh
You told
yeah,
me the part after
because he,
of what his fixture was,
yeah,
as oh, you're making your mom miserable in heaven by thinking these things,
yeah,
but you didn't tell me the first part where he says, "This is how I know how to fix you." That's
yeah.
fucking so
Cause
crazy,
he,
dude.
so I was in the break room. I was like on lunch or something, and he pokes his head in. He goes, and I was just about to tell him I don't want to talk to you. Like
Mm,
I'm done talking to you about this. And he goes, I'm gonna fix you. And I was like, well, all right. Like you don't
wow,
just say no to somebody who's gonna fix you, you know.
I
So
would.
I would now, but at the time, nobody had ever promised that, and then completely failed so horribly. Um,
Oh man, I feel so bad for you.
So you said that, like, I went dizzy. Like, I thought I was going to pass out. That's how angry I was. Like,
Wow,
just immediately, like,
man.
furious.
Just hearing, I mean, I wanted to rip his throat out when
Yeah.
he told me that. I wanted to rip his throat. I was just like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
And I was just so done. And then I came home. I don't know if it was the same day or the next day. I had been telling Madeline about this, like, kind of saga of this guy bothering me. And she came over one night, and I forget why. I think we were going to go for a walk or something. But she comes in and she's like, "How are you?" I was like, "You know that guy?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "He said that I'm torturing my mom in heaven, and she can't enjoy heaven because of me." And she like drops her bag on the floor. She walks up to me. She takes my face in both hands. She goes, "You are."
I remember that. Now, you see, now when you told me these stories before, it was never quite so in such a like a timeline like I've heard these things separately from each other.
Uh-huh.
Because I remember you were complaining about Madeline one time, and you said so this was a separate story to me.
Yeah.
Like they were not attached, they were not
Yeah.
linked together. You because I remember you told me about that in Madeline as well,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my gosh. And this is another reason why I'll be like, she's a psycho bitch, but. And it's funny 'cause I remember I was listening to one of our previous chats,
Mhm.
and we spoke of Madeline.
Mhm.
And I remember I was talking about it. It's
Not
because like,
kindly, which I
yeah,
feel bad about.
well, no, I mean, the one thing I've always she really was your best friend. You know, you really did love her very much.
We went through a lot together, and we
Hmm.
had a lot of good experiences together. And you know, it hurt. It hurt
Yeah,
when she just decided that I'm not
you
worth
guys were
being
very
friends with
close,
anymore. You know, it
even if you had problems.
yeah, even if I was waiting for it, even if she had tried it multiple times. And I also understand this is what she does to other people too. Is like she's always like she has to be the person to walk away. She has to be the person who cares less. And one thing that she always asks me, always, or used to ask me, when she would talk about somebody that she just didn't have in her life anymore, is, "Do you think they still think about me?"
Oh my gosh.
And I would be like, "I don't know." Like,
Right?
does it matter? Like, you decided you don't want them in your
Yeah.
life anymore, you know?
That's so weird.
It's like
I guess
but she needs to be
she needs to be needed.
needed. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
in a way, I
Which
can
I get as
in
a
a tiny way
codependent,
I can
yeah,
understand that in a
mess.
tiny way, but she definitely has a different approach to it or whatever, or more needy version. I don't know, and that was the thing that always weirded me out because I could tell, man. I remember a couple times I was like, I would like to date this girl a couple times because there were things about her I liked, like.
Hmm.
And I could recognize that, but I also, most of the time, just as an observer passing by your room, and and hearing in between and whatever,
Yeah.
this was in between stuff. This was not something I was going out of my way. I wasn't
Right.
listening in on your conversations, but literally every time I could hear you talking to her, it was always like you were her shrink and you were trying to make her feel better about all this nonsense. And I was like, first of all, why does she feel bad about this? Why does she need help with this? It's such a stupid thing that my sister has to help her with. To me, in my mind, just
Hmm.
whatever. And I like, we're all different. So clearly she was very disturbed, which is funny to me. I say that because I'm an extremely disturbed person, so I'm not, not like trying to be a dick about it, but whatever. It's a different kind of disturbed, which is I would say I'm way more disturbed than she is, which is kind of funny to think about it because I'm not. It's a different version.
Yeah.
Like it's that's what's weird to me.
Well, I think that she relies a lot on worldly wisdom and worldly happiness. And she's a very spiritual person. She believes in
And so am
God
I.
and she has visions and
I'm
stuff like
very
that.
spiritual.
But I think a lot of her happiness is wrapped up in the idea of worldly gains, like money, job success, having a kind of like picture perfect family
What do you
life.
mean though? Like, because the reason I'm curious, because like to me, that just all seems realistic. Like in order to do anything in this world, we need money. That's
No,
just
no, no,
reality.
no.
So that's why I'm curious. Like, what's the difference there?
Having your happiness rely on your life looking the
The
way,
way other people see you.
I guess, kind of like if you were looking at yourself through somebody else's eyes and you'd be like, that looks like a happy person that I would want to be, as opposed to figuring out what makes you happy or what you would actually want to do. Like,
I see.
she's very artistic, and I've encouraged her to do like art therapy because I feel like that would be something that she'd be really good at.
I didn't know she was artistic.
Yeah,
That's cool.
she's very artistic. Like, oh my god, just like what she's done to her apartment. Like, and like she changes it up, and she's very talented. And then she'll like do little crafty things and stuff like that.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that she would be a great art therapist. I don't think I want her on the suicide hotline. I don't just because well, I don't find the suicide hotline that helpful anyway.
Right. No, but just, I mean, even I can't help but laugh at the idea of her. I could never not laugh at the idea of her at a suicide hotline. I just can't help it.
And I think that she learned a lot from that job. I just
Yeah.
don't see that as kind of the ideal place for her. I think she needs to be in a bright,
That's not her
cheerful place.
natural spot to.
It's not her natural habitat.
Yeah,
She needs
yeah.
to be in a nice, bright, airy space where she gets to interact with a lot of people in a positive way. That would be, I
I
think,
love that kind of a thing too.
yeah, I think that would be edifying for her, and it would be edifying for the other people, and she would be glad that she's helping people, but at the same time, she would be doing something that makes her happy, aside from also helping other people. So, so there's that. So that's what I think she should be doing. But, anyway, so when she came in and she's like, "You are torturing your mother in heaven," like, I just had to laugh.
What
like,
a gross.
and
How
here's,
do you have one person tell you that and then another person confirm it in a way, which
But-
is insanity.
but you have to look at, like, for me, the difference at the time was intention.
Oh, yeah.
His intention was to win an argument.
Right? Yeah.
His
Gross.
His intention was to beat my conscience into submission, to get me to agree to the
way he
to
sees it.
grieve or stop grieving the way that he thought I should. And Madeline genuinely wants Mom to be happy in heaven.
Isn't that some twisted shit? Man, that is some twisted shit. That is so twisted, dude. Oh my god.
Like, she genuinely doesn't, like, she thinks if I was in heaven and I looked down and I saw people crying and sad because I'm gone, like, I wouldn't be able to enjoy heaven because, like, whatever, you know?
You know what's
Like,
funny
I
about
get
that?
that perspective,
Mhm.
but him coming in and telling me that was not so that I would stop torturing my mother. It was so that I would stop grieving. Like, so I would stop feeling a way that he thought was inappropriate. And so it was really frustrating. And so, so after that, I requested from my boss that I didn't have to ring him up.
I remember, yeah.
And I actually just would, like...
Kind of an in-store personal,
Yeah.
What do you call it when you get you can't be 100 feet within or whatever?
Oh, like a restraining order? But it wasn't
But a
that.
personal
yeah.
store
If
restraining
he got
order.
in my line, I would switch places with
Yeah.
whoever.
That's so
And,
messed up, man.
Like,
I'm glad they did that, though.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
so he came in one day. This was before the "you're torturing your mother in heaven," and he slammed his cart into my conveyor belt to get my attention because he thought I was being funny. And
yeah.
I looked up and I saw him and I was like, ugh. And I was finishing ringing up this other woman, who was the only other person there, and he was, and she was like, I was like, he was like, what? Because I was just like, oh, that was my reaction to him, and I was like, I just don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, I just don't want to talk to you anymore. Just like, please go away. And then this was the first time I told him I didn't want to talk to him anymore. We had several other conversations where I told him the same thing.
This is why I remember hating him so much, because you would literally ask him many times to leave you alone.
And as a person who, like, has no boundaries, or very few now, but zero then, like, that was me setting a boundary. Like, leave me alone. I don't want to interact with you.
And you were very polite about it.
Well,
As you could be.
I was as polite as I could be at the time. Like, he's kind of chasing me. So the woman looks up, because I had been very sweet to her the whole time I was ringing her up. This is Cashier of the Year we're talking about.
That's right. Cashier of the Year. We got the badge. Hells yeah.
And actually, I got this. I wasn't cashier of the year yet. I got cashier of the year after the whole Joel fiasco, where I didn't have to ring him up anymore. So yeah, so this lady, she's like, we finish up, and she goes, and she's just like, kind of like not sure how to react. But so then I like start restocking gum or whatever like you're supposed to do in between customers.
Yeah.
And he's just like, so you don't want to talk to me? And I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I'm just kind of just trying to get physically away from him, and he keeps following me. And finally he's like, okay, and then he leaves. And then, he comes back and gets in my line again, and she just kept coming back, and and then I'd see him on the street, and he'd be like, hey, hey, Crystal, like, all for, like how he was when you saw us at the grocery store, like, so like just friendly, like I should be excited to see him.
Now if I remember right, this was where, because I think I remember that I was very weirded out because I didn't know. Now I remember, I think we came home or whatever. It was after I had seen somebody, somebody yell out to you kindly or whatever. And then, so to me, it was nothing, whatever. And then later you told me that's the guy who's been basically harassing you and shit. But I had no idea. So when I was like, for real? Like, right? That's the one? Because I remember that was the only time I've ever seen him even engage with you or on a personal level. Because I had never seen him before. I'd never even after that. Like, I never
But you thought my reaction was odd because I was just like, so what I learned after telling him I didn't want to talk to him, like, we'd still see each other. And like one time I went into Paradise Bakery, which is around the corner. And I was looking at their dinner stuff, and he was sitting over in the corner eating, and he was like, "Come over and talk to me. Just come over and talk to me." And I was just like ignored him, and then I left, and I didn't buy anything. And I was just like, I left. Another time I ran into him on the street. I was just like, he was just like, "Hey, Crystal," like I should be excited to see him, like he always does. And then and I was just like, "Just leave me alone. Just fuck off. Go fuck yourself. Leave me alone."
Wow.
And I was screaming on the street at this person.
Yeah.
Just to leave me the fuck alone.
My poor sister.
And
because that's where you're just pushed too far. You can't take it anymore.
I was not polite at that point. Yeah. And then one time I was screaming, "Go fuck yourself" at him, and he goes, "You used to be so nice to me."
Right? Yeah.
And I was like, that's before I knew you were an asshole. It was like, so I was just like, just leave me alone. And here's the thing, like, I think that the reason that I had such a strong reaction, like, now, I don't think that I would have the same reaction to somebody who's infringing on my boundaries, because I would be able to stay calmer longer, I think.
A little bit more experience.
At the time, I had never really told anybody to leave me alone, that I didn't want to, except for one person who did leave me alone. But, like, I hadn't ever set a boundary with somebody before. And so when he continued to cross over that boundary, I would get more and more upset. But it also, I think, reminded me of when Renz and Mom used to fight, and Renz would take the door off the hinges. And I just remember this one particular time, like, I was just like, I was like a fucking, like, one of those little yappy dogs. Just like I stood in front of Mom when he finally got the door off and he came in, and I was just like, and Mom was screaming the whole time, like, "Go away, leave me alone, go away, leave us alone, go away, go away." And then he got the door off and she got quiet, and I was like ready to get in his face and be like, "You get out of here, get out of my house." And Mom like quieted me down. As soon as he got in, for some reason, Mom got very calm.
Wow.
And then she sent me to my room, and I was just like, so to me, it was like that.
It might have been her making sure you weren't hurt or something.
No, I think she had a fucked up idea of like male-female dynamics, where she kind of appreciated being dominated or pursued.
Go ahead and continue.
I don't know. Like, in a way. So not like
no, I know.
Not BDSM, just like just being kind of like having your will overridden or whatever. No. Like, there was just something that appealed to her about it.
I just wouldn't think that of Mom, but I can, yeah.
I think, or just being so important that somebody would take their door off the hinges to get into you, And he wasn't coming in to hurt us or anything, but like, what are you supposed to assume when you're screaming at somebody to go away and they decide to come in anyway? It felt like a nightmare, where a monster's coming after you and they are not going to go away, So So it's very scary. And when I had that experience with Joel, that's what it reminded me of, is like, we're telling you to go away and you're not. And so even though it was a completely different situation, I think that's why I had that intense reaction to it. Um, that on top of the fact that he was just like taking a dirty stick and poking it into an open wound, you know?
We know this is what's so messed up to me, as just knowing the stories and hearing them, and I never met the guy, whatever. The one time I saw you interact with him, is we talked about this before too. Like, I can't help but give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, because I want to, believe in something better, and while also knowing that I'm done.
Yeah.
I give up. There's as much hope as I want to have. Everything's fucked. So, but so I can't help but, while thinking this guy is a psycho piece of shit, I can't help but think he meant well. He wanted to try to help you, and he was just really bad at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was bad at accepting boundaries.
Yeah.
And he never apologized. If he had apologized
that
one
would be
time,
different. Yeah.
if he had ever apologized, I would have accepted his apology. It was the fact that he wasn't sorry, and then he kept doing what I asked him not to.
Yeah.
Like, that's what...
And that might just be because he really just couldn't recognize what to be sorry for. He just wants to help you. I just want to help you. I shouldn't have to be sorry.
Well, I was wrong. I was wrong in his mind. I was just wrong to react the way that I was to my mom's death and to his help. So his job was to fix me, not apologize.
Well,
I remember...
If you get to the point where you've already repeatedly asked someone, please just stop and leave me alone. Wouldn't, come on, man. Let that register at some point. Gee.
Yeah. Eventually I realized... I was going to say something else, but I don't remember what it was. But eventually I realized that I was giving him what he wanted by having such a loud, angry reaction to him. So I finally just started, when he would say hi to me or I'd run into him, I'd just be like, hi. And then, just move on with my life. That's why when you saw me when we saw him in the grocery store, he said, hi, Crystal, I should be excited to see him. And I said, hi, and then just immediately moved on. I didn't stop and talk to him like I would anybody else. I didn't hug him. I didn't...
Was that... I can't remember my response, but I remember... Because you even said it. You said that I thought it was awkward.
You did think it was awkward, yeah.
Because I am used to you, if you see someone you like and know, you don't just say hi and keep going.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have anything to converse about, you'll stop and actually
hug,
wait. Yeah.
How are you? All that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so anyway, I forget what I was going to say about him.
Sorry.
Oh, I was doing the free therapy at GCC. Oh yeah, so I hadn't graduated yet. So I was doing the free therapy, and the counselor, I was telling her about Joel, and she goes, maybe he was brought into your life so that you could teach him something, about,
I guess that's one way to look at it.
Boundaries or whatever. And I immediately was like, why is it my fucking job to teach him anything? He should know.
That's kind of a part of life's education, is not, I
mean, I think he learned something.
I think she had that's a nice way to look at it. And also, your response is completely understandable. You know what I mean? Yeah.
She dropped it immediately. She didn't pursue that line of, thought. And here's the thing, is, generally speaking, that's definitely something that Mom would have said. It's he was brought into your life for a reason. You have to, you have something to offer.
But the problem with
whatever.
that, it's that could be true, and even if it is, there are times where you're not prepared for it, especially mentally, the emotional state you're in.
I didn't sign up to be this motherfucker's teacher. I was barely getting through the day as it was. I was barely functional, and I'm supposed to teach this person about anything? I couldn't teach myself about anything. So
but it's something that, it's, I think in a lot of cases, it might have been your therapist, but you even said it, even Mom would say something like that. That's something that even you said, if you were to encounter that again, you would probably approach it differently or have it be more
I definitely learned a lot
and that's
from
because of experience. Yeah.
And I think that he would as well.
Maybe we could hope so.
I would hope so. I would hope that
because the way you described it to me, with the repeated The dude sounds like a damn psycho. You
For
know,
a
I'm just
long
like,
time, like,
fuck.
I was sure that there were bones buried in his front yard. And
Right?
the FBI was going to come find them any second. He
My
was going to end up
God.
in prison forever. Because it was like, how do you
Oh,
just
I
be
really wanted to
that?
hurt him so badly.
So did I. Like, I was just like, how do you just be that fucking clueless to how some, like, people don't always feel the way that you feel about things. It's okay. It's okay that I don't process my grief the way that you think that you would or that I should. Like, how I feel is how I feel. Fucking back the fuck off, you know?
Also, I mean, I always talk about that how no matter what it is, whatever emotion, anger, fear, love, all that stuff, we all can relate to each other. But we have our different experiences of why we can relate to each other.
Yeah.
We don't experience it the exact same way. Like we experience mom's death differently, but we can still relate to her death. You know,
Yeah.
like we're like,
And you're not like, you shouldn't be still be this. You should have closure because I had closure.
oh wow, yeah,
And I'm not like, you shouldn't
yeah,
have closure because I don't have
yeah,
closure. You know,
yeah.
we had our own
And same with
experiences.
car accidents. You know, many of us have been in car accidents, but there's still different experiences of
Yeah.
that car accident, how we felt afterwards, and even though we can relate to a lot of general things, there is a difference there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the other reason I was sure he was a psycho is because every time that we had had a conversation before the one where he told me that I was torturing mom in heaven,
Oh,
I
God,
had
God.
I had maintained like a friendly, amused attitude towards him, which I think infuriated him because he wanted to get under my skin. He wanted to bother me.
And this
And
is your perspective.
because when because he kept coming back and then
Mhm.
I also okay, when he said you're torturing your mother in heaven and I like almost blacked out and I was like, you're not allowed to say that to me. Fuck you. You're not allowed to say that to me. And he kept saying it. He kept repeating it over and over.
See, that's why I
And
want
then
to rip this guy's throat out.
I went to clock in. It must have been a lunch break because I went to go clock in and I came back to my register and my coworker who was covering me for lunch was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "No, I'm gonna fucking kill that guy. He just told me that I'm torturing my mother in heaven." And she was like, "Go outside and take a breath." Like she was like, "You're not coming back to the register until you
Yeah.
calm down."
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I was being loud or anything. It was just that I was so fucking upset.
Mhm.
So I went outside and like paced around and just like breathed and was just I wasn't getting less mad, so I just went back inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was partly the thing where I'm just like, you can't say that. And then once there was like a spark. As soon as he realized that got under my skin, he knew what to say to me that would upset me. And so he said it over and over. Until he literally had to
I
fucking
think you
part
told me
ways with
about
me.
this before, and that's why I will not stop hating. I won't stop hating
Yeah.
this fucking guy.
And then also like again, I learned, like I said earlier, like I learned to not have a go fuck yourself reaction screaming on the street with him because he just seemed to enjoy it.
Feeds off of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where he just got energy from it and it was so I figured out that I could make the interactions much shorter if I just responded civilly, not friendly, but civilly, and then just moved on.
You know what's messed up about that, though?
Gave him nothing to argue with or counter.
What's messed up about that is it requires your energy and focus to do that.
Yeah, and then every time he did that, like I would, oh, and then like, oh
It's
my
not
God.
something easy. Like, you literally have to change your mental state,
Yeah.
your emotional state. Like, you have to know and you have to recognize that you have to force yourself through this bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a good encounter.
One time I had already started working at Flappers. I think he'd been there for a couple of years. I was walking home and he was coming the opposite. I just saw somebody on a bike. And so I started to move to the side so that,
Give him space.
Yeah. And then I saw that he was like coming over to where I was standing. So I went to the opposite side of the sidewalk and then the guy on the bike went to the opposite. And as he got closer, I realized, oh, that's him. And he's doing this on purpose. So he stopped his bike right in front of me. It's like, hi, Crystal. Like, I should be excited to see him. I was like, hi. And then we just fucking, like, passed. But it was weird because, like, I used to be so scared that he would show up to Flappers. Like, he'd see me going into Flappers and then he would stalk me there. And like, I would just have all these scenarios in my mind where I have to go tell Will, like, please get rid of this guy. And then he's telling them I'm not a good person because I only seem nice. And then once, and then one day I'll just turn on you for no reason, like, and just like, just every time I went into Flappers, every time I went through the gate, like over where the courtyard is, I would look around just to see if he was around because I didn't want him to ever see me going in
That's
there.
some traumatic shit,
Yeah.
man. That's a horrible, evil fucking person.
Well, I don't know that he's evil. I don't know that he's
Oh, I'm
not.
calling him evil. I don't care. You cannot think of him as evil
I'm
all you
saying that
want.
he had a profoundly negative effect on my life
Yeah.
and my mental well-being, but I don't know that that was his intention. I think his intention was to be.
I no longer believe, and I no longer give him the benefit of the doubt because I had to be reminded of this.
Yeah.
I do not give him the benefit of the doubt, and I would still love to rip his fucking throat out.
So like, and I was telling you that I have perspective on this now, and my perspective is that. And I honestly can't put myself in his shoes because the first time somebody tells me to fuck off, I'm gonna fuck off. I'm never gonna bother that person.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because I've talked about this. It reminds me of, like, with my own friends, which is kind of interesting that you say it like that because, and I even, like, one of my friends told me that, too. Like, I messaged him. I said, I'm really sorry I ruined our friendship. And he told me to fuck off.
Oh.
And I did just that. I was like, yeah, I get it, man. Like, like, I completely understand. So, I don't hold it against them personally. It depends on how close I was with them and stuff like that. But there is that point where you recognize, like, you know what, this person is telling you to fuck off. So you obviously, like, I fucked up, whatever.
You
and I also already
apologized.
knew that too. Like,
and then if he ever wants to come back, then you know that he knows.
And
he's
he
welcome.
did. He did shortly.
Oh, did he?
First,
Okay.
and then he left again. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a whack job, anyways. But so. But yeah, no, I've been through that a little bit here and there, the fuck off part, and I've told people to fuck off as well. And at the same time, it's like I've told you before, like, it's whenever I disagree with people, I trust that friendship that I can actually be honest with them. And in most cases, especially with internet friends, it just doesn't work out that way, Like,
well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I had a conversation with Robin, which was maybe our only one where we just ended with. Like, it ended very abruptly. I was just in a really bad mood.
Mm-hmm.
I was really, like, I haven't left the house in probably, like, 2 months, except to take out the trash.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really scared about going to, like, just leave my house for a month. Plus, at the beginning of the, it doesn't matter.
But you've been with her before and you had a good time, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not, like, I feel good about it now, like, as we're sitting here, but, and I'm kind of excited, and, I know that there's going to be fun to be had, and it'll be fine. It's nice to change your environment, whatever. But when I was talking to her, I was not in a good place, and she kind of abruptly ended the conversation, and I was like, see, this is why you don't allow yourself to be your worst self in front of other people, because you end up getting rejected, and then I was thinking she was tired. She had been driving all day.
She had her stuff too, yeah.
She had just gone to her hotel, and she just didn't have the mental energy to...
Yeah. That makes sense as well. It's the same thing.
To deal with my damage and make me feel better. She already tried, and she wasn't succeeding, and she wasn't going to keep trying. She, like, had dealt with her dad earlier that day. She had been driving a lot. Like, she wasn't home. She just needed to get checked in, and she wanted to, like, usually when she reaches out to me, it's because she wants to feel better, not worse.
This is exactly what I've told you about my streaming, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like...
Yeah. And you can handle, like, your friend being in a bad mood, but, like, you don't have to handle it for longer than 5 minutes if you don't want to. Like, you do your best, and then you move on.
Yeah.
Go talk to somebody who's in a better mood.
But I mean, and so that's where, that's what I'm talking about. Though there's those parts where, it's different when you have somebody that you're very close with, which is weird to me. It's like I said, I like my online friends to me, the ones that I know. Like, I do feel like I should trust them, and no, not even that I should, that I can, and that's why I don't mind just saying my shit, right? But I would say 9 out of 10 of them don't handle it when I get too real.
Yeah, and it's not even real, because your happy self is real too. It's just
yeah.
It's just allowing the kind of negative side to show, but then also, the thing is, you also got 2 people, like I say, Wags and Dark, who stuck with you through that whole thing.
And it was weird to me that I think the only reason it got scarier with Dark is because he's a cop.
You thought he was gonna shoot you?
No. Idiot. No, but because I kept posting very hateful police shit, like fuck the police, this and that, whatever. But I wasn't just being like fuck the police. I was giving reasons why. I was like, look at all the shit the cops do. It's not like there's endless amounts of stories of bad cops constantly every fucking day.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was just being like, oh, just fuck cops just because I wanted to say fuck cops.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be cool or popular. It was just like, look, I finally come to that shit where I'm just like, I can't take this anymore. It's the same with not just cops, but the system and everything. I'm just like, fuck it, I can't take this anymore. But so I think that's the only reason. Now, I don't know. Wags, like, I had shared a lot of political feelings and thoughts and stuff like that. But nothing ever got too personal in that sense with me and Wag. So I don't know if he just avoided me for the stuff I was saying or if he just agreed with me on it. Because I know there were a couple times here and there he'd agree with it, right? But I mean, I know we don't agree on everything, as most people don't. But I know Dark specifically, as being a cop, wanting to be a good cop and all that kind of stuff, is offended by that, understandably, like.
Well, it's kind of like that thing where it's like, oh, men, you know how men are.
Yeah.
Men.
I've been offended by that. We talked about that before when you were like, it was like a feminist thing or whatever, and one dude was like, I try. And I was like, that's exactly how I feel a lot of times too. And of course, we don't mean you,
we
right?
Don't mean you. We mean the ones that are like actively being affected by.
We mean the other 90%. Like,
it's not even 90. Like, honestly, I think that most people are doing their best to be decent human beings. I think that the people who get the most attention are the worst and the best, and then the rest of us just kind of go under the radar.
I mean, that's also that I can see that too, but it's also what's interesting about that is a whole, again, goes into another topic, but the people in power really are psychotic pieces of fucking shit.
Yes, I think on that I would agree. The 98%, yeah, for sure.
Like those specific people, right? But not like normal, just regular people, not in power and just people living like in the world and whatever. Yeah. No, the people in power are fucking. Oh my! I wish I could just shoot them in the face. I really do. Anyways.
Yeah. So I mean, getting back to Joel, I don't know that I have great insight into the whole situation. I know where I would behave differently if I was ever confronted with that again. But I also understand that, like, where I was coming from, like, I was coming from a place of pain, frustration, being lost, not having, like, identity crisis. Like, I was going through so much, and what I expected and would expect from anybody, because even Madeline, even as persistent and stubborn as she is,
I still can't believe she did that shit, man.
And as many conversations as she had,
the face, like you are torturing her.
She was so sweet.
It was slap that bitch straight up her
face.
It
was hilarious. Like, and that's the difference, is like understanding where somebody else is coming from. Yeah. And again, he wasn't coming from a place of I really genuinely want to help you. He was coming from a place of I want to be the hero. Yeah. I want to be the thing that changes you. I want me. Like, that's not where Madeline's coming from. Yeah. As wrong as she is with a lot of the stuff that she says, she genuinely...
She means well. She truly means well.
Yeah, she genuinely means well. So,
as stupid as it is. This reminds me of people with the inspirational messages. Like, of course they mean well,
Yeah.
But I thought, I'm like, dude, just shove that shit up your ass. Like...
So I just think... In terms of him, I don't know if I saw him again. Like, just, I don't know, with the Paxil helped so much.
We've had time, though, too, in between.
Yeah, but... I
would not
when I ran into him with you, I had left flappers, so it was only, like, maybe 3 years ago. And I was not. And I was still in a place when I saw him, my heart would start pounding, and I just would, like, I get, like, all panicky.
No, I wouldn't. As it seems like at this time, the way you've talked a little bit about is it's either you've forgiven or gotten over, or both.
I don't think it's either. I think it's I like genuinely don't have the energy.
See, and that's different, and that's definitely that matters. And I would not want him to. I would not want you to encounter him again, like right now, at all, ever again. Actually,
well, I would prefer.
Yeah,
I would prefer never to ever see him again. But.
And I still want to rip his throat out. I don't fucking care. I can picture it. I can picture just ripping into his neck and just tearing whatever the hell I can out of his throat.
A lot of my anger at him is gone. like the intense fury and stuff is gone. I still don't understand where he was coming from, because I think that he was coming from it from a very egocentric place, and that's not generally how I approach things. But I also understand being wrong.
Yeah.
And I understand that, like, even if his intention was only like 1% to help me and 99% to make him feel like a hero, he wasn't trying to be a villain. Like, he wasn't actively trying to hurt me. I think that his
I don't know.
I think that
I
his
disagree.
psyche enjoyed getting a reaction out of me.
Which is being a villain.
But I think that's just part of, like, who he is as somebody who needs a lot of attention. And
So
gets validation
he's
from attention.
naturally a villain and not trying to be a villain. So, I mean,
I don't-
he's still a villain.
I don't think that his intentions were bad. I think that with the kind of person that he is, I would argue that his intentions were good, if selfish. And I was watching, so before, like earlier today, I was watching this video about what not to wear, which was this show on TLC. It's like a makeover show. And
What not to wear?
yeah.
For what? Like, is it a specific thing not to wear something for?
It's just a makeover show. It's the name for a makeover
Fuck
show.
these people, man. Don't you tell me what not to wear. I'll wear whatever the fuck I want, man.
Yeah. So we were watching this girl who was like into Lolita fashion, like sweet Lolita, like puffy girly dresses, like little girl dresses and stuff like that. And the hosts were so mean to her. What was the point of bringing that up?
I don't know, but I'm interested.
The hosts were so mean to her, and the girl who was reacting to this episode was getting so frustrated with the hosts. Like, the people who did the hair and makeup were perfectly fine, very sweet, very like, what do you like? Let's adjust your
Work with
style
what you
to
got.
like just glam it up a little bit, or just make it a little bit more streamlined or whatever. What do you like about this? What don't you like, etc. And her hair and makeup turned out great. And her outfits were not great because they didn't choose the people who were helping her pick her clothes didn't. Their intention was to get her to look a certain way, not to help match her style.
Yeah.
Or to help refine her style.
That? We talked about like a makeup artist or whatever who.
Oh, James Charles
made a girl who preferred glittery
JoJo
stuff, and then
Siwa.
ended up just making her look old instead
like
of
30.
more old and mature.
Yeah.
Not old, but like mature in comparison to her regular personal style.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened here too.
Yeah.
With the clothing.
So it's not that the intention on the part of the host was, we're going to embarrass this girl. We're going to shame her for the style that she likes.
Change them how we want them to look.
And we're going to make her wear clothes that she hates, right?
Yeah.
Their intention was, we're going to conform her to the style she should have.
Gross. Dude.
Which is gross. It is gross, but it's not evil.
Well, I mean, it kind of reminds. I mean, that's a part of society too.
And it's a part of maturity because I was watching earlier too, a video where she's like, so the same girl, her name is the Stitchess, and she's got her YouTube channel.
That's
so
cool
she was reacting to the episode, and then she had another video where she's saying, this chick from what not to wear is not horrible anymore. And so she was showing the same hostess who's kind of embraced a different style, not so homogenous. She doesn't care what people think when they look at her anymore. She's just happy and excited. And as somebody who has fashion clients, she knows to approach them to help them find and refine their style instead of enforcing her style on them. And so again, that's part of maturity, is like understanding that if I'm supposed to help you, then I need to approach you in a way that you're going to be receptive to, as opposed to me enforcing my will over yours.
You have to do it this way.
Yeah. And not understanding that that's not how we're wired.
I mean, it's very much like, in a sense, the way it will always make me think of this. It's very much like, boys have to dress a certain way, girls have to dress a certain way. And in some cases, like, I could sort of understand it, but imagine if we were never taught this stuff, like, boys could be wearing dresses, no problem, and nobody
Yeah.
would notice. Which again, like I don't care. Like it doesn't. I'm not like, oh man, I wish men could just wear dresses, kind of a thing. Like I don't care. I don't care.
Although,
It's just weird. It's interesting to
I
think
mean, a
about though.
sundress on a hot
If we
day.
never literally learned this,
Yeah.
everybody be dressing however the hell they
Yeah.
wanted. You know, like yeah, it's
Just for
kind of weird.
comfort and your own
Yeah,
sense of style as
yeah,
opposed to
yeah.
what you know you're supposed to wear.
Yeah. So it definitely that's that influence. It definitely, you know, it's weird though because what's not super bad about it is you can still work. There's so much within your own, even if society says a certain, there's still within your own. What's it called? Whatever.
Culture?
You can still work with it. Your gender
Oh,
actually.
your gender. Okay.
If you're so used to the male thing, there's still plenty of ways to work with the male thing.
Yeah.
But it is weird, right? Again, I really don't care. Like, I don't think it's so super insanely important for dudes to be able to wear dresses.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting to think that if we had never been taught this way, that any of us could have been wearing anything at any time and nobody
Yeah.
would ever even think about it.
Huh.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just an
I
interesting
think we're actually
thought.
moving as a society towards
We'll
that.
see. We'll probably be dead before that ever happens. Kind of like
Yeah.
our government being better. We'll be dead before if that even happens, which it probably won't.
Yeah, but I mean, we are definitely moving there. Like, people were up in arms about Harry Styles wearing a dress, and I remember seeing that and thinking, that's a very masculine dress.
I think who is Harry Styles?
I think he's in a boy band or
Was
something.
that like a picture on Rolling Stone or something?
I think so,
Because I
yeah.
can remember the picture and
Like a
being
big
even
boot
I
skirt?
thought it. I was like, damn, he looks badass in that
Yeah.
dress. Like, which is funny because like I never like I didn't follow this stuff. It just one day I just randomly came across it, and this was in 2020, and all the shit that I had been through and seen and everything. I really wish I could remember now like what brought that topic up because I remember just coming across it and I was like, he actually looks really cool in that
Mhm.
dress. Like, I mean, I don't want to go wear it because he's wearing it, but
Oh,
I
it
was
just
like,
looks so cumbersome.
but it was, dude. I was like, that actually is badass.
Yeah.
I think it was a Rolling Stone cover, right?
something like that.
Like,
Yeah.
I think it was, and I was just like, holy shit, that actually looks really cool.
And to me, it didn't look feminine. Like,
Yeah,
to me, it
yeah,
looked
yeah.
like
It was just a dude looking badass in a dress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and not that there would have been anything wrong with him wearing a feminine dress, but I just thought it was interesting, the idea of making a masculine dress. I just thought that was interesting.
I don't remember the dress specifically being masculine. I just remember being like, that looks completely natural.
It suited him.
Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
weird because you don't see that very often. Usually, if you see a dude in a dress, it does not look right. And again, this is not.
Again, that might be like a style thing. Is like
Yes.
maybe they haven't
Yes.
found their style
Yeah,
yet.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
because I look at ContraPoints and the evolution of the way that she dresses, and it doesn't feel like experimental as much anymore. It feels like she's settled into a style.
Oh, I mean, and the reason that it could be too is because that Rolling Stone one. Even I don't know. I'm imagining that he must have felt natural in it as well.
Oh, I would
Because you can usually tell just by looking.
yeah.
That not only do they not feel natural in it, but they don't look natural. And,
Yeah.
and that's it. It literally has nothing to do with the actual man in a dress thing. It's just that it just doesn't work.
Mhm.
You know, that's all. That's so it's very interesting. Anyways, I don't know how we got into that, but that was fun. But was there more on Joel too?
I don't think so.
'Cause, yeah, I remember. I mean, mostly it just seemed like you would reach a place as far as on a personal level on the way you think about it, where which is sad because you're not actually over it. You're just exhausted, too exhausted to even put up with the bullshit anymore.
Well,
So there's no it would because like I said it too. It sounds like you forgive him. And you're like, well, I don't know if I forgive him, but I'm just kind of done with it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
I mean,
you know?
well,
Yeah.
the good thing is that it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
but
like,
still,
and I
the
think
problem
that-
with that is if you were to encounter him again, it probably would all come back.
I don't know that it would. Like that's what I'm.
Well, that's
what
I mean. That's why I'm
thinking.
saying like.
I know that the last time I saw
if it's
him-
forgiveness, that's
Yeah.
one thing, and that makes sense, and then it's easier to move on from
Yeah.
if it's actual forgiveness. But if it's not, and it's just the fact that there's been time in between, and you can easily just be like, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah.
But if he were to come into your life again out of nowhere, that could all just come back in an instant.
Yeah, I think I don't take his choices in that situation as personally as I did.
Mm.
I used to think that there was malicious intent, which is only going to heighten a sense of like, you know, like somebody harassing you. It's only going to feel like he not only is he hurting me, but he wants to hurt me. And if I keep giving him chances, he's going to keep trying to hurt me. Like versus He genuinely tried to help. He just sucked at it. And
He's
like,
just kind of psycho.
I don't need to stay mad about it.
You know, with some of the stuff that you had mentioned. Now, look, some of this, the way you described the way he would act and the things he would say, specifically the things he said, it sounded mentally handicapped.
I would say emotionally handicapped.
Same damn thing.
It's
No,
not.
I know.
Yeah, no, emotional maturity is definitely, it has nothing to do with your intelligence. It has to do with like your ability to okay, so I have another story about okay. So I used to work at Goodwill. I worked at Goodwill for 6 months after mom. So I worked there for 5 years, and then mom died, and I worked there for another 6 months, and then I quit and went to
I
Smart
see.
Final.
It's interesting to me that you can actually remember the timeline because I can't remember what year this and what months this and that
At
kind
the
of stuff.
time,
Yeah.
like I legit was just living every day, like just counting, like okay, so it's been 3 weeks since mom. Like that was how
I remember.
like it used to be my birthday, and
Mhm.
now it was when mom died.
I remember when she first died. It was so weird to me because probably for the first month in my own head, like I kept thinking, I don't know why. In my own head, I kept thinking I need to remember the exact time and the exact date that she died. I gave up on that after
Uh-huh.
probably a month or whatever, and I don't even remember now. Like I don't even think about it. Like
Mhm.
I do remember it's in October only because it's around your friend's birthday.
Yeah.
Um, but I've always been reminded by it of you by you. I've been reminded of the date, but I remember the second that it happened, and then I heard them do the time of death or whatever.
Mhm.
Like I wanted to stick that in my brain at the time. After a while, I was like, eh. Like because I think the main reason we talked about it a little bit earlier, the main reason that I stopped caring was because I had her with me all everywhere I went, everything I did, literally, and I'm not even kidding. Like that's what it was for me. It was
Yeah.
just everything I did, and and I hate it. I still hate it. I still hate paying the bills, and it's not the same. Like that time has gone by, and it's not quite the same. Like
Yeah.
but there was at least a couple years every single time I did anything mom was with me in the moment of doing the things that I did because she was the one that taught me everything, almost everything I knew when it comes to like real life
Yeah.
stuff.
There are certain things that I feel like when I'm doing that I feel like I only know how to do this or how to appreciate this because of her. Okay. So, I'm still working at Goodwill. Okay. And my routine at Goodwill 6 months after mom dies is I work for a couple hours. When I get my break, I go down to the bathroom and cry for 15 minutes, go back to work for a couple hours, go to my lunch break, cry in the bathroom for 45 minutes, eat my lunch, go back to work, get a break, go cry in the bathroom for 10 minutes. Like, that was my routine.
Mm-hmm.
And after about 6 months of this, Berta, who was one of my coworkers, um, she was like, she brought in Jerry because she didn't speak English. She could do like hello and all that stuff, but she couldn't say what she wanted to say to me. So she brought in Jerry to translate, and she said through Jerry, "You have to stop this. Your mom is looking down on you, and she's not happy.
Mm-hmm.
You have to live your life because she can't live. You have to live for her."
I hate that.
I do too.
I know they mean well.
And
It's
I
nice.
said,
it is nice.
and I said, I don't care if she's happy.
I remember you telling me this before. It's just so funny.
Why should she be happy when I'm miserable?
You know what's interesting to me about that, and I hope you can remember what you're on the moment of. Um, I think even Renzi has talked to me about, a little bit about this, and it's very weird to think about because there's that, but there's also the like, if you were to go to heaven, in the heaven of the sense that we think of heaven and whatever, right? No matter what, afterlife. To me, that's where I'm at right now. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into my thoughts on that. But one of them that has been pointed out to me, and I never really thought about it because I didn't care. I'm like I like whatever. But I thought it was funny because it was like, why in the hell, if you were to die and you were to move on to a better place and you're in a different life, why in the hell would you just waste your time watching people be miserable on
Then
their
you're torturing yourself. It's your own fault.
Like-
You don't have to tune into this channel.
right? Change the channel. It just doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
right? So and then on top of that, it's not that if you were to die and go on into another life, you don't just forget who you loved and who's a part of your life and whatever, but things are different, and eventually at some other point in another time, and at whatever, however time works and however the afterlife works, you will eventually be together again in that sense, right?
You know they're going to be joining you. You know that.
Yeah. So you don't think about it. You don't watch them and worry about every single second that they're miserable and
Or
stuff.
every
So
tear
that's just
that they
such
cry
a
or
funny
whatever.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just I was really glad that was pointed out to me because I never really thought of it that way before,
Yeah.
but it made sense to me as soon as I heard it. I was like, oh yeah, that makes
Also,
sense.
like, what is your vision of heaven if people can be tortured?
Right?
in it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
fuck?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So Jerry translates to Bertha, why should she be happy if I'm miserable? And Bertha just kind of looks at me and she says something in Spanish and Jerry just like hesitates. And like I'm just like, what did she say? And I can tell he doesn't want to say it. And finally he just kind of looks away and he just goes, "You're gonna die alone."
You know what's fucking funny about that? You know what's really funny about that to me, which is kind of sad. It's funny though because it's crazy. So many of the story, I think even Soul, that Disney movie, talked about it too.
Oh yeah.
Like no matter what, you always die alone.
But I don't. Yeah.
Isn't that a trip, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
even that movie, which is exceptional and amazing and beautiful and wonderful, it made me think of it like we were literally holding our mom in her last breath.
Yeah.
But if I could see it in her way where she was not actually actively there, she did die alone.
At
What
a
a
certain
trip,
point, you
right?
just start
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I could sort of understand that, like, and that's that's whenever I hear that, like, you're gonna die alone, it's just funny to me to think about it that way, because you could be surrounded by people at your time of death and still be alone.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's it is funny though. I can't help but laugh at that thought, you know.
I can't help but laugh.
I know what they
it's
mean
such an
to.
extreme
Yeah,
thing to say.
yeah.
By the way, when I run into her a few times since I quit, and she always hugs me and is always excited to see me.
Yeah.
So
No,
I don't know if
she would
remembers
not have
saying
come
that.
to you
Yeah.
with a translator if
She
she
was
didn't
concerned.
care. Yeah.
She was concerned, and that was how she expressed her concern. But here's one reason why she was forgivable and fucking Joel wasn't at the time. Because, I mean, like, he happened later, but, like, when I was going through him and I'm thinking back to all the shitty things people said to me after mom died, like, I had to forgive her because she had a dead mom. And if she wouldn't allow herself to feel her own grief, why would she let me?
The way you explain it is wrong to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's perspective.
Yeah.
I just see it as it's just different. It's because there's the difference between well-intentioned messaging and somebody just being a jackass.
Yeah,
you know?
but it's hard to think of "you're gonna die alone" as well-intentioned. However, she started out the conversation.
It's so funny that that's amazing. Like, I'm telling you, if it was me and the guy was like looking away and translating that, I would have straight up laughed right in their face. Like, just at that second.
I don't remember what my reaction was.
I'm pretty sure I would have laughed so freaking hard.
But my internal,
and I would have said, yes, I will.
My internal thought was like, I want to die alone. I don't want to love anybody else like that and just to lose them. Like, my intention was to never get married, never have children. I'm never going to feel like this ever again. I'm not going to set myself up for this shit.
We're
ever
different
again.
in that sense, because, like, and that's a part of our being different from each other. Like, I want to be around. I love people. Of course, I mean, where I'm at now, I'm so fucking broken where I don't want to love people. So, I mean, I've always understood that. I've always understood not wanting to care about people. But I also, at the same time, can't help it. Like, I literally can't help it. Like, I do care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, but I do. There's no stopping that.
Yeah. And, like, the fact that it's over the internet doesn't matter. You know,
yeah.
Not having seen somebody face-to-face doesn't matter. It doesn't matter necessarily even how long you've known someone. Like, Sheree and I were friends after our first conversation. You know, so, yeah, but no, it just like, again, like, it's, like, I look at, like, Berta's conversation with me as, her having had her own grieving experience, and if, If she said to herself, I have to live for my mother and I have to be happy for her sake so that she can enjoy heaven and she can rest peacefully, then that's what she would tell me. She's not going to look at me and go, "Oh, I get why she's still crying
Again,
every day 6 months later."
this is the difference. The way I see it is the difference between well-intentioned, well-meaning, and the difference between that and not just going out of your way to be evil or whatever.
Yeah.
But just not understanding.
Yeah.
There's a difference between understanding and also meaning well,
Yeah.
and not understanding at all while also giving advice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking? It's like part of it is I'll never not forget this now that because of you. I remember you shocked the shit out of me when you told me that there are people in the world that don't know what it's like to be depressed, and I was like, how the fuck is that possible? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how can anybody in this world not know what it's like to be depressed?
I used to think that there was just stuff they didn't know about, and then I realized that they just process that information differently than we do.
Yeah, it's
you
a
know?
trip, man. It's and I'm
They don't take it
I didn't
personally.
learn that until
Yeah.
like 42 or whatever,
Yeah.
or maybe 43.
I mean,
remember
I
when you
was
first
probably
told
in
me that,
my-
but it was very recent.
Yeah, I
It
was in my
very
30s
recent.
when I learned it, so
That's
yeah.
insanity, man.
Yeah.
What a trip.
Never occurred to me. I think I was having a conversation with Mary, who I went to GCC with, where she said, some people just don't respond to the world the way that you do.
Yeah.
Like, they don't feel the same things that you do.
Yeah.
They have the
It's
same.
just weird because
You can give them the same stimulation, they'll have a completely different reaction.
what's always the reason that was so hard for me to understand, I never thought of it before, is because almost everything I ever hear from people outside of people who are perfectly happy and rich, which is a rare thing, generally speaking, you don't come across that very often. Well, I mean, we don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, right? We're not normally around super rich people that can afford anything they want at any time.
Not
ever.
like on a day-to-day basis,
And-
but don't act like it never happens.
No, I mean, it's just not normal for us to experience anything even close to that.
No.
So like the majority of people ever, the most things that I can relate to have nothing to do with that at all. So I thought that was the same for everybody. I thought we all understood each other. So finding out that they're literally, and I've seen it too, especially after you pointed that out to me. I've seen it with the rich people or the wealthy, whatever, even the middle class and up. Even the middle class, which is crazy because even they are fucked. Even the middle class are screwed.
But there are even
But compared
people,
to us, they might as well be billionaires.
But yeah, again, even people who are completely destitute, like poorer than us, like that
They have a
guy,
better attitude than we do.
guy
yeah.
who smoked rat poison. And
I forget, what was that?
And then, when I was waiting for the bus, and the
Oh
guy,
yeah, okay. He smoked rat poison and Jesus loves me.
and he's so happy to be alive.
This is so
And I'm
funny.
like, you're a crackhead who just poisoned yourself,
Yeah.
hoping that you could find drugs.
Mm.
You're happy to be alive, and like, I don't have that problem. Like, your life, like, he didn't have a home. He was addicted to crack. He was happier to be alive than I was.
You know what's messed up about, you know what I hate about that?
Hmm.
Is this is the argument that wealthy or happy people will use.
Oh, that money doesn't buy happiness?
Yeah, or not just that, but if you're down or whatever, they'll be like, well, this person is completely homeless,
Oh,
and
I
they
hate
love
that.
their life. They love their life. I'm not even kidding. This was like a week ago. This was probably even less than a week ago. I came
Ugh.
across an article that literally the article is about how this person who is now homeless, he didn't used to be homeless before, and now that they're homeless, they have literally never been happier in their entire life until they became homeless. And this is the shit that people will use as
Yeah.
if it's a good thing
You know?
to be homeless, first of all.
Yeah.
But oh, look at this guy who's so super happy with his homeless life. And I can understand because there's a freedom. I like that
Oh,
part. I
sure.
could understand. I
Yeah.
could understand this sort of a freedom thing. But
No more rent.
but literally, when I think about it, I'm just like, no, that, like, sure, mentally he's free, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
But there's gonna be shit that he's gonna encounter,
Yeah.
and
you don't have
they
the
don't talk
options.
about
Yeah.
that. They do not talk about that. They just talk about, oh, I'm happier than I've ever been. Like,
And then
no,
also
shut the fuck up.
there's a euphoria that comes from just being in a different situation and
That's
being
true.
away from the
Yeah.
problems that you're used to.
Mhm.
That's what vacations are for. That's like a terrible vacation.
Eventually, that guy's gonna reach reality, or it's gonna come to him. Right? Like,
You just you don't. Yeah, I'm glad that he has so far had a positive
I thought about it.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Like, yeah.
But it's such.
Anytime.
But that's the problem I have with it is it's not. It's not the fact that this guy's happy. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's
The
that
fact
he's
is that it's
used as a
used as an
poster
argument.
child,
Yeah,
poster
to be like,
child,
oh,
yeah.
you could all be homeless and happy. Like, you know what? It's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man.
It's all in your mind. Oh, and it's what you choose. Like, that's the thing that
Yeah,
bothers me.
yeah.
Is like, I don't choose to be depressed.
Mhm.
It's something that
Yeah,
happens
right?
to me.
Yeah. You think I want to be miserable? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. It's like, if I could choose to be like, there are times when I'm just
shit.
like, I can feel it, like a cloud, like a storm cloud roiling at the back of my neck. You know, like, it just, like, I can just feel it starting to press down on me.
See, that's so because I could not describe it that way, and it does. I don't feel it that way
Yeah.
either. For me, it's literally a switch flipping. That's the only way I know how to describe it.
Oh, so it depends. Sometimes I can feel it building, and sometimes it's like a switch.
No, for me, it's most of the time it's on and off, and it's usually constantly on depression mode, like
Yeah,
almost nonstop. So
yeah.
right.
It's a
And that's-
relief when
that's
that
some-
light goes on, though.
Well, no, the thing about that's why when I talk about that stuff and I've told people, it's such a weird thing because even to think about it, like I remember the first time I ever had like suicidal thoughts was 12 years old. I'm 43, and that almost never stopped.
Yeah.
And I remember this too. It's such a weird thing to think about because I remember, but I was 16 years old and I was like, I can't believe I've lived this long. 18 years old, can't believe I've lived this long. 21 years old, can't believe I've lived this long. 30 years old, can't believe I've lived this long. 40 years old, can't believe I've lived this long.
I can't believe I've lived long enough to get old. Like, it's crazy.
Well, the biggest reason for that is not just life not killing me, but just the fact that I was suicidal, like throughout all of that.
Yeah.
In my mind, anyways.
Yeah.
You know. And I remember I even made a video about it, and I said like the biggest reason I don't kill myself, number one reason, is I don't believe there's nothing after this life. I can't. I just don't. I do not. It's impossible for me to believe there, and it's not because. And one thing that's funny to me is I'm not scared of going to hell, especially now after 2020 when I was like, I'm confirmed this fucking planet is hell. So if anything, I'll be going to a different level of hell, kind of a thing. I'm literally not scared of going to hell. I don't want to. You know, whatever. I just don't believe I'd be going to somewhere better. So no matter what happens after this life, if anything, it'll be the same. Oh, the same kind of misery, the same whatever, right? Which is fucked up. It's a fucked up thing to think, especially like I have a very, the way I think of it, I'm not like close with God in a way where I could, where I feel like I could speak for God or whatever. I wouldn't want to, but I mean, I can't doubt God, no matter what you want to call God. Because I'm fine. That's one thing I had to come to terms with too, and I still have this thing where I'm trying to learn a little bit more and just the point of view and stuff. And I talked about this before, where I used to call myself Christian, and because I love the story of Jesus. I think it's awesome. A lot of it makes sense. It's really cool. Like for me, it makes sense. Like I get it, and a lot of that stuff is really cool, and I love it. But I stopped, especially specifically because organized religion. As a whole, generally, and this is a very overall big picture thing, it's horrible. But when you get into those small groups, my favorite thing was Bible studies, with individual people, and we're just discussing the Bible, and that stuff's awesome. Like, it's really great. But no matter what, we talked about this before too. I don't have faith that God exists. I don't need faith. I don't need faith that God exists. I don't have to, maybe the God's there just because I want to believe. I don't. I know God's there. That's how I am. Like, I know it. You cannot take that away from me. It would take so much for you to convince me that there's no God or a higher being, and whatever, right? And I remember I was telling you, I was like, the only faith I would have is whether or not God will provide for me, which they have been,
so far
our lives, yeah.
So far,
Which
so
even
good.
though everything's still stressful and like really messed up,
Yeah.
like we've,
There's many
we're provided
times when
for.
life could have killed us and we just haven't.
A lot
died.
of things, and we're somehow managing. And I can't help. I thank God, and there are other reasons, of course, but yeah. So, anyways, I don't remember how I got into that, but it's interesting. It's how did I get into that? Like, you were talking about something that led me there, and I didn't mean to go that into it or anything. So, whatever, man.
We're talking about being suicidal.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
how long you've been
and
suicidal.
that's why I got into that, because I was thinking, like, one of the reasons that And it's such a weird thing too, because I think about it. I'm telling you, if we had ever owned a gun, I probably would have been dead years ago.
Oh yeah,
I
me
mean,
too.
I've many times literally pictured slicing my own throat or my wrists and all that kind of
Oh
stuff,
sure,
and it's
it's
so
just so
gross and it seems so
painful.
painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that. Like, ugh, you know. But a gun with a bullet to the head, sure, or a bullet in the mouth or whatever,
Oh
right? Like,
yeah.
I'm just like, well, it's a good thing we've never owned a gun, I guess. Maybe. I mean, at the same time, I don't think it's a good thing, but I mean, you know, you know what I mean, right?
There's a comedian, I think I can't remember which one. I think he was one of the guys from Ridiculousness, who would come to Flappers all the time. But he was like, I've never owned a gun, and it's not because I'm like all like pro gun control or anything. It's because I'm not optimistic that I would never get so depressed. And I forget how he phrased it. The way he phrased it is really funny. But
Yeah.
I'm just like, yes, yeah.
It's a trip to think about that, especially, you know, what was crazy to me about that too, because like last year, towards the end of last year, the middle of last year, whatever. I remember I was telling you like I want to get guns, and I meant it. I was straight up. I wasn't like I want to get a gun. I was like I want to get guns. We need an arsenal
Yeah,
because this fucking world is just straight up fucked.
yeah.
Uh,
I'd rather be murdered than murder anybody.
Especially in America right now. Like I mean, I'm sure you know it's been messy everywhere, but like that's what's a trip because like it is worse all around the world, and it's only gotten worse here too, which is just like what? It's insanity. But I meant it though. I was like, I want guns. And even while I'm thinking this, and this that was to defend myself against the shit going on. Um, but at the same time, I was like, you know, as much as I want that, and mostly, you know, a part of it, which is really messed up, a part of it is me wanting to end evil. Like,
You're not going to do that with a few guns,
I'm
Jay.
really messed up. Yeah, no, no. I mean, what I mean is like, like, I won't say that this time. We'll save that for another time. You got to try to remind me of this because there's a thought I had, and if I said that right now, it would no. Let's not today.
We'll
Not
hold
before
on
you
to
leave
that.
for a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm almost. Oh my gosh. Woo. All right. But no. So I don't. It's a trip. But I had actually made a video about that, about why I haven't killed myself, and it's weird. It's really weird. Like that's one of those things too where I don't want to say it, but I remember one day I was like, you know, fuck it, I'm just gonna tell him. Whoever looked and you know whatever. It's in the old videos. I don't remember when exactly I made it, but it's really weird. Not only is it weird to think that way, it's weird to actually tell people that. You
Hmm.
know.
I don't know if it's as weird as you think it is.
Well, it might not. To me, I still will never not feel weird about that. You
Yeah.
know. And it's not because like
It might just because you've never heard anybody else express that.
no
That
no
you think
no
you're the
no
only one.
no no no. I think a part of it that's weird to me is like even though it's one of the it's probably the only thing I don't want to be honest about.
Hmm.
I think that's uh, off the top of my head, if not the only thing, one of very few things that I don't want to be honest about, that I don't actually want to tell people the truth about, that I
Why?
don't want to feel, that I don't want to know, you know, that I don't want to think that way, you
Hmm.
know. So yeah, because most things, like even no, so instead of saying specifically, even some of the bad things that have happened to me, I don't mind talking about it like at
Mhm.
all. I don't. It doesn't matter how bad it gets. But that specific thought, I can't. It's like I want to share it because like I can't help but think it. So it's just kind of like this thing where you like it just won't go away. But it's also like one of many reasons of why I've learned where you know there's that whole thing of like, oh, if you just talk about it you'll feel better, which is it really depends. It really depends on what the actual subject is. And it depends just how far it goes, right? You know, there are things I've encountered. I can only remember like one or two things where I talked about it and I actually felt better talking about it. It's very rare.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you just have to be careful who you who you talk
I
to.
remember I'll tell you about that too. Like I remember one of the things I had seen that I thought was really funny. Oh yeah, because we talked about this. And just quickly, I'll just recap it because it just reminds me of it. Like, as a streamer, as a Twitch streamer, something that people have recommended is they're like, there are things you don't want to tell your audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, these are the people I want to tell, you know? Like, I want them to know me. I want them to know who I am. because I want to know who they are as well.
Well, yeah, and when they give you that advice, they're giving you the advice that they have for
Of
themselves.
a professional brand kind of a thing, rather
Yeah.
than a personal level. Yeah. Anyways, were you pretty much? Did you
I'm
have
done.
anything less for Joel? Okay, cool.
I'm done, and I'm tired. So
Yeah. No, that was cool. I am glad you feel better. It was weird to me when you first told me, because you were telling me you wanted to talk about Joel, and I
yeah,
was like, ooh,
yeah. Well, he's one of those stories that I've told myself, and actually, I never knew his last name, but I found him on Facebook, so now I know his last name, and I'm not. Oh, he gave me his phone number one time. Like the same day that he said he was going to fix me, I think, or some other time that I ran into him at the laundromat, and I had put it in my
I'm gonna
Kindle.
fix you.
I Google searched it or reverse phone number searched it or something and found his last name and found him on Facebook, and all everything on his Facebook is all like where he's eaten, like restaurants, and like inspirational memes. That's it. That's all
Yeah.
he posts.
Well, I mean, that's in a sense, that's kind of. I would say it depends. Uh, all social media. This is what's funny about that you say that, including Twitter, and this is why we even talked about this before. Why, when it comes down to it, social media is how you treat it. It's not how it treats you.
Yeah.
It's what you take out of it, what you do with it, how you engage it. Like you do have the choice.
Yeah.
You do have the choice on how, and that doesn't mean that certain website doesn't block things or try to manipulate or promote the wrong shit or lies and stuff like that. But the reality is that you can tailor it in a way.
Yeah.
In a way, you'll still see the ads that you have to skip or whatever. Right? You know, it's funny because I was telling you about the clothing stores I came across recently, and I would not have seen those if they were not sponsored on the freaking site. You know, and I was so glad. I was actually, holy shit, there's something here I'm actually excited about.
That
you
targeted
know?
ads are finally paying off. Finally getting smart enough.
No, but so no, part of that is the people who. You know, like you said, like this guy, he specifically, it's just inspirational memes and restaurants, and some people just use it like that.
Oh yeah.
That's all.
No, I just thought it was interesting, like, because that's how he likes to present himself to the public.
I mean, originally when I first was on Facebook, it was all video games, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and then all through last year,
When I was
more
on-
political shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, right? Like, so
I did go through a political phase when I was running Dave's political show, and I would share political stuff a lot, but not. I try not to put stuff that's divisive, like, if you believe this, you're a stupid piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, I would try to post, like, positive things. Oh, something good is happening in the world, you know, and going in the direction that we would like to go in, like that kind of stuff. And then, once in a while, I'd post something that was controversial that I didn't realize was controversial until I posted it.
Yep.
And then
Those are always
how could anybody, like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's super funny. It's just like, wait, why is this controversial? Like,
Yeah. All right.
It's so funny.
I definitely want to do an episode on Facebook stalking because I look up a lot of people that I used to know, but I don't want to be friends with.
Okay.
And so that could be a fun episode. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be out of town for a week to a month. We're not sure yet. I know that I'm gonna run out of
at least a month probably.
Yeah, but I'm gonna run out of medication before.
Oh, you can get
the
it there
month
though,
is up.
can't you?
Yeah, but it costs more. They're not gonna charge me what our pharmacy. Our
Oh,
pharmacy
yeah, I forgot about
literally
that.
charges me.
Can you not ask them early and tell you, like,
What
I'm
I think I
going away for a
might
month?
do is have you, like, call it in, have you pick it up, and then, like, overnight it to me.
That's not gonna happen. You should try to see if they explain them. Look, I'm gonna be out of town.
Yeah, something else I can do is just pay for the amount that I'm
You
going to use.
should do
while
that
I'm out of
right
town.
as after we finish recording this and ask them. Say you're going out
I mean,
of town
it's too
for a
late.
month.
I'm leaving.
Right now.
I'm leaving in like an hour.
Are they not open? They're open.
I'm leaving in an hour. They're not going to be able to talk to my doctor and get me pills in an hour.
All right, then you'll have to explain to me the overnight shit, and we'll see how that goes. Fine.
I'm not even sure if it would be cheaper to do it that way. So
It probably
we'll
wouldn't,
figure
but
it
we'll
out.
see. Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, legitimately, like
You're gonna want that.
Yeah. So, I mean, so she might just drive me down or something, and then we'll pick him up and then go or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't realize that until you just said. I'm like, oh fuck, man,
Yeah.
like that's not good.
Oh no, I'm not going without medication again.
No,
That
I
was
know.
too scary
Yeah,
last time.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not sure how long I'm gonna spend.
Okay.
Because we might get sick of each other
Oh,
quicker
whatever.
than
Stop.
yeah.
You're gonna be there a month. So, anyways, yeah. So I'm gonna miss you very much.
I'm gonna miss you too.
I mean, it's funny because I'm telling you, I was thinking about this too. Like we talked about this before, where like, we've lived together our whole lives, but we don't spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
But then when there are those times where you're gone for a long time, I definitely notice it. So a whole month, man, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm dreading this. I'm like, but at least I was prepared for it. I don't give a shit. See, you care about that. I don't. But I remember this too because it's funny that you say that because I will never forget this. Years ago, you had said you would prefer to live alone. You don't want me as your roommate and
I don't want
shit,
anybody as my roommate.
and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm your fucking brother. And I'll never forget that. I will never.
I wouldn't
ever
mind
forget.
having a house next to yours, but I would like my own house.
Yeah. Which I don't blame you for, but it's such a funny. I do take it personally.
I'm sorry.
But no, I understand at the same time. I'm just like, motherfucker. Like, I think the main thing though is like, if I'm playing video games and cussing at my games and stuff, like that's probably the most understandable.
Yeah,
Like,
at the very least, I want thicker walls.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I've definitely been on apartments.com and there's like bedroom, bathroom, and then bedroom. I'm like, yes.
I remember.
I want that layout.
I remember I mean, it's still possible too. It's still a possible thing. Like I had looked up soundproofing the walls and shit, I just never got around to doing it because it is extra money.
Yeah, and we just don't have an expectation to keep staying here, even though we've been here for
There's so much that goes
15
to it.
years.
I still really need to just get rid of 90% of my shit. Anyways, so
I mean, honestly, that does help soundproof though.
what's cool about today is we really did have a nice personal chat in comparison to a previous few episodes where I didn't realize this caught on to me. I didn't realize I was approaching our own chats as well as people listening. But I think we're done, right, for today? Okay.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna just sing the
I was
outro.
wondering, do we have a goodbye? Yeah. All right.
Love you. See you soon. You won't even notice I'm gone because we have so many episodes recorded.
You won't notice I'm gone. I won't notice. You shut up.
I meant our
I know. That's funny.
Dark Alchemy or Soda, whoever made it this far.
Wags.
And
Don't forget Wags.
oh,
Wags will be deeply
I said
hurt.
Dark and Alchemy like they were two different people.
Oh, right. Dark and Alchemy Wags. Wags Alchemy. Wags Alchemy.
I meant Wags instead of Alchemy. So Dark, Wags, and Soda and or Soda.
Okay.
All right, so our outro is gonna start now. Da 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 da. Thank you for listening to the Poor Rikes talk about being poor and depressed and their dead mom. Thank you for joining us once again. Always rehash the same old sad shit.
Oh my god.
Da 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 da. The Poor Rikes. Da poor.
That was just terrible.
That was really bad.
We're motherfucking poor.
Motherfucking poor.
Bye.